Good morning. It is a beautiful, beautiful day here in Bozeman, Montana. And I'm looking forward to sharing this little morning ritual that I've started. This is called the Empowered Aging Series. And as I will explain each and every time, what is empowered aging? To me, empowered aging, okay, to empower our ability to age well, starts from the time we're born, right? So the minute we're born, we're aging. And we celebrate age in all different ways. I have a birthday coming up this weekend, so I'm going to celebrate I don't even remember what birthday it is. That's empowered aging. It doesn't really matter the number, it just matters how we are living our life. I believe I'm going to be 62. Oh my gosh. So that is an opportunity. Hi, Marie. Good to see you. So, empowered aging is how we take care of ourselves, the choices we make, the situations we find ourselves in, and the practices that we undertake to really care for our human frame and our mind and our soul and our spirit. So, it's a lifetime practice. And so we're going to start today. This is Wellness Wednesday. And one of the systems that I really am so happy to be integrating into my life, and I'll tell you a little history on how I got introduced to it, is called Ayurveda. And Ayurveda is the sister science to yoga. So, as you may have heard, I was introduced to yoga when I was only 21, so 40 years ago. And I'm so thankful that I was introduced to this wonderful, wonderful practice that has helped me to really live well throughout the years and brought a lot of enthusiasm and inspiration and knowledge and comfort and excitement and connection in my life with myself and others. So it's been a huge part of my life. It's my dharma, it's my purpose. I think I knew that when I was first introduced to my very first yoga pose that I couldn't do because I was super tight in my body. I didn't know that. But it woke me up. That was a moment of enlightenment, like, oh, I thought I was flexible because I could do the splits. But then I found there's other areas in my body, my side body and my shoulders, where I was holding a lot of unconscious tension. And so it woke me up to the fact that I had more to learn. So I dove in. I just started studying away. And what's really interesting to me is that all the years that I have studied yoga, probably did not get introduced to its sister science of Ayurveda until maybe 20 years later. So out of 40 years, those first 20 years, none of my yoga teachers, or maybe I just didn't hear them. That could have been the fact too. Maybe they were integrating the information, but they were never really speaking to Ayurveda. And, yoga was new was new in the West anyways, in the early, when was it? The early 80s, 79, I think is when I was introduced to it. And so Ayurveda, because now as soon as I got introduced to it, then I thought, oh, that's just too much information. That's like a whole nother topic. Ayurveda is a huge umbrella, just like yoga is a huge umbrella. And I'm hoping to bring some more light to all that yoga involves. In fact, that's what I do. That's why I'm inspired to do these little half an hour clips right now through the next, I don't know how long it's going to last. We'll see what the timing is on our homestay. But it gives me the extra time to come online and talk about yoga, which I'd love to help explain its larger process and its larger opportunities for caring for ourselves. It's so much more than a pose, right? It's about being our best self in so many ways. So it's a healthcare system, it's a philosophy, it's a spiritual practice. It can be pretty much anything you want, but we've got yoga and Ayurveda, and these two really go together. So yoga is actually a spiritual path. So the practice of yoga is meant to awaken us to our true nature. And I'll go into the 8 limbs another time because that's a whole philosophy. We have Philosophical Friday, so that might be my subject this Friday. I'm not sure. I think we're going into the yoga of emotions. But one of these days, and along with your questions and requests on what you want to hear about in yoga, let's unpack this amazing ancient art and science and start to understand with a sense of simplicity how we can integrate it into our everyday life. So yoga is a spiritual path, and then Ayurveda is actually the healthcare system and how we care for ourselves day to day, season by season, and throughout the seasons of our lives. And we acknowledge those changes and flows that happen in each of those time frames. So I don't know why I wasn't introduced to Ayurveda right away, but I guess it was too much information. But it definitely started shifting my world. Like I said at first, I kind of pushed it off because I thought, oh, I still don't know enough about yoga. I don't want to know, it's another system. And then finally, I started seeing the integration process. I'm like, how could I not study this? And now it's a huge part. I mean, they're just so integrated. And so my school of yoga, the life enrichment and training that I do is definitely a merging of these two sciences because it's really how we live our best life. And so coming into the practice of Ayurveda, which means, hi, Stephanie Rohr, good to see you. Thank you, Mother Earth, today. It's a beautiful day. It's been so gorgeous out. People have been out and about. And we're going to talk about that because Ayurveda, which is the subject today, is really about living in harmony with nature. Isn't that lovely? So we're in the natural world. We are part of the natural world. Sometimes that gets separated. And I think that's a big part. Personally, I think this whole COVID message that's coming through is we need to be connected to the natural world. I mean, it's the natural world that's created this situation, right? Something's come from nature to settle ourselves down, to push us back into our homes, to get us off the roads, to let our earth heal without all the interruption of humankind. And also what I'm seeing around is just in my own neighborhood is families coming together and being together and playing together. I mean, I've never seen so many families out together at the same time. Even when I went hiking on Sunday up in the mountains, it was, families, including their teenagers with them. And I thought, that's a blessing. And I know there's a lot of challenges and a lot of hardships. And again, that's the balance of life, right? So we have these challenges. We're all challenged right now because, I'm going to explain that in Ayurvedic terms, because we're being pushed out of what's familiar and into something new. And I say, yay, let's get into something new because I think we needed a little reset. So let me pull back into today's subject. Thank you for being here. And today's subject is all about what a mantra came up in my mind last week. So a mantra, we all have mantras, and it's a repetition of words, sometimes chosen, sometimes not. We all have mantras going through our head. So what's the one message that keeps running through your mind? And this mantra appeared to me, which was semblance of order. Semblance of order, because I just had this desire, and I'm sure you can relate, to have some sort of semblance of order. And I don't think I'd ever even used that word before. So it was fun for me to have it pop in. I'm like, yes, I need some sort of semblance of order in my life because it was just chaotic, right? When it was like everything was thrown up. So are you feeling out of sorts? Are you settling? We've been here now for several weeks. For me, I kind of feel like I'm settling. I'm actually looking forward to continuing through the month of May with this social distancing. I'm like, okay, that's my semblance of order. I'm just going to commit to this for a whole nother month because then that gives me a known factor and I can design my life around that, even though we're probably going to open up. I think I get a haircut this week, maybe if they open up to some services. But if I don't, that's okay too. I'll get my own scissors out. But it's those little things like, I want a haircut, I want my nails done, and I'd love to get a massage. But that's just like so not necessary to live our life well, right? That's just the desires that we have. So, oh, good, Marie, you're settling. I'm so glad to see that. So, all right, let's get back to the subject. Feeling out of sorts. I know I am. So I call this a planetary pause. That's how I've been seeing it, right? We've had this planetary pause. Everyone's being stopped in their tracks all around the world. And so, what are we doing with that pause? Okay. And there is a collective angst. So there's a collective unconscious, or maybe it's conscious feeling of being anxious or sad. And that is going to affect us, even if our own life, we're starting to find our own order. So we need to acknowledge that and know that sometimes those feelings of angst or sadness may not be our own, but we can acknowledge them and honor them as part of this whole. Because remember, the mantra of the planet right now is we're all in this together. So that's another mantra. We're all in this together. I was thrilled a few weeks ago when that first came out. I mean, that was what came out right away. We're all in this together. And so we are, and we're all in this together to create solution, but we're also all in this together to reflect upon and acknowledge all the various feelings and situations that are happening, just so we have compassion for all. So just be aware of that. If you're wondering why you're out of sorts, it may not be you. It may just be that empathy for what other people are going through. And that's a good thing. We want to be sensitive, right? And so get back to my notes here. So today we're going to talk about the integration of Ayurveda for everyday living. And I promise this would be some simple steps. So I'm going to kind of blow up a big picture of it and then bring it down, like what can we just do right now, day to day, to help with that semblance of order in our own life, to feel more calm and more effective in how we're operating. And so Ayur is the word for what is for life, and Veda is knowledge. So it's life knowledge. So it's really a science and a philosophy, as I stated. It's all about how we heal, self-healing, and balanced living, right? And balanced living is how we self-heal. So bringing ourselves back to balance over and over again. And so when I did learn about this, it really shifted how I operated in my life. And yes, I integrated yoga and I practiced breathing and meditation and asana. And there was the philosophy of the 8 limbs. And I looked at a lot of the ways that I was operating in relationships with myself and others. And then Ayurveda brought this whole other element, which is living in balance with nature. And so, as I said, very simple steps we can do from this practice that can make our life feel more in rhythm with ourselves. Like we can get more connected with, who am I really? Who is this person operating today? And how do I want to be responding to all that's happening in the world today? And responding versus reacting. In fact, I wanted you to know that I'm just finishing up my free guidebook. I got this idea about creating a guidebook, and it's called the seven simple soulful ways to nourish your life every day. And it's taken me a little longer to design because I got into it, but it's really beautiful. And if you haven't signed up for that, I would love you to receive that. It's free, it's a gift. And so private message me if you haven't signed up for it. But again, it's just these little things we can do every day that really help keep us on track and settled inside our own skin. And so let's take a little look at this big picture of Ayurveda, which again is living in harmony with nature. And it's going to help you. What I find is it helps us understand where and when we get out of balance and why. So we understand why we're out of balance. We can, again, have a little more empathy for ourselves and what's happening. And then we can look at how we can create some little action steps to bring us back into a more comfortable state, even in the midst of chaos. So this is being in the eye of the storm. So can we settle into that place of peace and inner harmony while the world is swirling around us? So on Monday, I spoke a little bit about what was called the gunas, and gunas is it's an energy, and the energy of the gunas teaches us that there's It's a quality of life. And there's these three qualities of life that are constantly in fluctuation. And we are part of life. So these qualities will shift and change. And so those three qualities, and I want you might even take notes on this, because when we start to see where our energy is moving, where our emotions are flowing, how we're making choices, how we're operating through the day, we can recognize, oh, I see, that's what's happening. We understand ourselves more. So tamas, or tamasic energy, is the energy of basically inertia. In fact, I'm going to read a little bit from this book. This is a great book. I don't know if it shows backwards or not. Ayurvedic Yoga Therapy by Mukunda Stiles. He's a wonderful teacher of yoga in this country. And so these three fundamental properties help us to understand the movement. So tamas, or tamasic energy, is inertia, it's heaviness. It's, when I've talked about it Monday about meditation, it might be when we are falling asleep a lot in meditation. It's that, and it's also is relaxation. There's that energy. We do need that energy just to stop. Now, relating that to what's happening in our life right now with social distancing, some of us are really feeling too heavy. We're feeling like, oh my God, I'm not moving. I can't do what I'm used to doing. And we're feeling an imbalance because we've been stopped. And you might even find yourself feeling lazy, or some people are like, I just can't get off. I can't get things going because we're out of sorts. So that's that tamasic energy, just not able to get ourselves going, right? That might be you. I don't know. You can let me know in the sidebar what's happening. And it's got pros and cons in either ones, but at the same time, it's like, can we all just stop for a little bit, right? This world was spinning out of control in my perspective. So we've all been homebound. So that's the tamasic energy of what's happening here, and how we respond to it has to do with our own personality. And we'll get into that. The other energy, the second energy, is called rajas, or rajasic. And so that's the energy that's activity, right? That's moving. It's also the roles that we play in our life. It's having purpose. It's doing things. And so that productivity that we're used to. So for me, actually, my productivity has heightened because I've had to find new and really creative ways to keep things rolling in my role as a yoga teacher. And so I've been learning and studying, basically being in, I call it technology university. So my rajasic state, and I tend to be that way, is super heightened. In fact, the first week when we just ran into this, I was up a lot of hours and basically burned myself out. So that's the other thing about Rajas. We might be reacting so much to this that we're doing too much. Like, I have friends that are cleaning out every drawer in their house and putting drywall in their garage and painting all the walls. That would be the Rajasic energy coming in. And it's how we deal with things. Now, the third state is the place in between, called sattva. So that's the sattvic energy, which really is the energy of harmony and ease and tranquility. So tranquility doesn't mean sleeping on the couch. That's tamas. It just means being at ease in the flow of life. And so all of yoga and Ayurveda are developed, the practices are developed to bring us back over and over again to that sattvic state. So I hope this is making sense, so that yoga sees this as our natural state of being, when we're really being true to ourselves. So not too much, not too little, just right. And because we're human, we're going to see this ebb and flow. But hopefully it's more like this smooth ebb and flow. Times when we're really being productive and active, times where we're relaxing and pulling back. And then it's more like this, instead of or getting stuck deep in the depths of inertia or overdoing and burning ourselves out. Does that make sense? So there's the three gunas, okay? The three qualities of life. And you can see that in all things, but we're just going to stick with ourselves right now because I want you to have self-care. Self-care Wellness Wednesday. So that's how we are being affected. Now we have individual responses. So now the next system, there's systems upon systems upon systems in these systems. So get ready to learn a little bit more about these. Is the individual response depends on our own characteristics. And so our characteristics in Ayurveda are known as the doshas. And I'm wondering if you know what your dosha is, those of you that are watching. If you know your dosha, write it down. Let me know, what is your dosha and what's that characteristic of it? Like, what do you know about that? So dosha means characteristic or quality, or there's another word, dosha. I'll remember it. Can't remember right now. And I'll just sip coffee. Maybe that'll help me remember. Oh yeah. So I wanted to go into this book by Mukunda and share a little bit of his writing on the doshas. So what he says, I really like to draw from these teachers, is both Ayurveda and yoga are based upon the profound study of the forces of life. And this interrelationship is made clear as we discuss the underlying elements of both yoga and Ayurveda. And for Ayurveda, these are the doshas, which describe how the building blocks of life are unstable yet follow certain specific patterns. So because they're unstable, there's going to be this ebb and flow. And this is where empathy and sympathy and compassion come in, that we're always going to be in these flows. So we can look at, how can I create some small doable steps each and every day that helps me in this balance of living. So the three fundamentals, there's three doshas, okay? And the first property is all about creativity and lightness. It has to do with the elements of air and space. So this dosha is called vata, and it's all about like just moving and being sensitive and flowing with life. And it also has, if we flow too much, we can feel very spacey and ungrounded. So we can be feeling that right now if we have what's called a vata imbalance, is that we're not quite sure. And I think all of us are feeling that. We're like, is my family reunion going to happen? Is that wedding going to happen? Am I going to have a job? What's going on tomorrow? Is everybody going to be okay? Am I going to be, we have a lot of questions. And so that's that too much of the unknown. Okay. And so that's affecting all of us. Too much air, too much space, not enough knowledge. And if that's a part of you, you might be feeling that more. As we age, we become more vata, more air and space. We get more spacious in our life, a little less boundaries. And so for some of us, that might be feeling like, ooh, yeah, I need something that I can do every day that creates more groundedness. And that's the next phase. So that's the element of kapha. So the element of earth and a little bit of water, which makes mud, that's that grounded element. And so that characteristic of kapha, I'm going to go back here to Mukunda, is, I like the way he explains it, is the element of nourishment and nourishing ourselves. And it has to do with our immune system being strong. It has to do with being settled and steady and sinking into a state of connection. And so that kapha element, that earth, water. Now, some people that are really kapha characteristic, that tend to be those really steady, reliable people, they might be being affected by this lack of movement and going too deep into not moving. But some of us need that. So that kapha element. So it's like, maybe I need to settle more because I'm feeling too spaced out. Or if you're going into depression, maybe I need to move more because I'm kind of sinking into a dark hole here. Hope this makes sense. The third characteristic is pitta, which is the element of fire, with a little bit of water, just so you don't burn up. And fire is that element of activity and vitality and energy. And so it's all about transformation and change. And so we might be responding. Sometimes our survival response will have to do with our basic characteristics. So Like for me, I'm very pitta. And so the first thing I did when all this started happening is I'm like, I'm solution oriented. I'm going to make this happen and I'm going to make this happen. And so I just started going with action. And then I kind of overdid. I had to take a break because I wasn't getting enough sleep. So we respond in the ways of our own characters. So let's look at that. So are you tending to be more like kapha? Are you steady and grounded and kind of have a tendency to maybe even sometimes be a little lazy? Is this pulling you down? Okay. Or are you pitta? Are you more fiery and you're responding like, I need activity, I got to keep going? Okay. Or is it vata, like you're very creative? Some people are getting really creative during this time and they're getting out some arts and crafts and doing new things. So they're feeding that vata energy. And so those are our three characteristics. That's our personality. Of course, we have a blend of all of them, and those are the elements, if you can catch it, of nature: earth, water, fire, air, and space. And with all that said, I want you to just kind of take a few breaths and consider what you're feeling inside yourself right now, and know that we do fluctuate between them. And we also have our own basic characteristics, our tendencies. And notice where you are with that. Yeah, Marie, all three of them. Yes, we are cycling because there's that collective unconscious, right? It's not just about us. We're also pulling that energy of everyone around us because we're all in this together. That's the mantra. And so there's also times that I want you to think about settling and just being inside yourself. So let's talk about some solutions to our 24-hour clock. We're going to just stick with one day. And what can you do to begin to settle those three energies more into what we call that sattvic state? And really acknowledge. I think acknowledging what we're feeling is a huge part of the solution, not trying to be something that we're not. And so this is where the rhythms of Ayurveda come in. So as I stated, we look at the 24-hour clock, and we'll look at the whole clock at another time because there's a lot to that. We look at the seasons of the year. Now we're in what's called we're coming out of kapha season, which is winter, right? We were hibernating. And now we're moving into summer. And so we've got all this springtime, sunshine. Oh my gosh, people are just like out and about. I know I am. It's so lovely. And so we're coming into the pitta, the season of fire. But we're going back and forth with it too. So this is kind of a tricky interim between winter and summer, especially in Montana. It can be, right? Snow one day and 70 degrees the next. So we need to go with that flow. And so we're going to be moving through. And so let's just look at, and also where we are in our life. What decade of our life are we in? Things should actually change with each decade. We have a tendency in this culture to want to be, 20 forever. I'm like, no, thank you. But there is a tendency of thinking that aging is not a good thing. So I'm here to help change that perspective. Aging is definitely an honorable experience. And there are many benefits that come with it. First of all, we're alive. So let's just live well. And we'll talk about the seasons of life another time. It's a whole other system. So what are we doing day to day? So let's just talk about how we wake up and how we go to bed, because I call those the bookends of life. Of the day, the bookends. So how we begin and how we end. And so often, and this has been huge for me, and I teach this in a course. I do want to give a little plug for this. I'll be starting a 6-week online course called Simple Soulful Living, previously known as Shake Your Booty. So booty's our wisdom mind. And but that's the mantra that came to me the first of the years, is how I want to live my life, simply and soulfully. And so we're going to go into these different habits of Ayurveda and integrate them. And so what I found to be some of the most powerful, not just for myself, but many people that I've taken through this program, is how we begin our day and how we end our day, because we have a little bit more control over that. Even if you're visiting friends and sleeping on their couch or off in some exotic place, which we're all wishing we could do right now. I know I am, but that's okay. It'll come. Or you've got family, you've got animals, you've got all these other things pulling on your external life, okay, and fulfilling your external life. And yet we really need to connect inwardly. This is super important for our health and well-being. We need to connect inwardly with ourselves each and every day. Go within. That's one of the practices of my 7 simple, soulful ways to nurture yourself every day. Is every day we need to drop inside, go within. And so how we wake up in the morning, waking up and just taking those first few breaths and not thinking about what you're going to do, but just noticing how you are. And maybe going into noticing what you're grateful for. Like, wow, I just woke up. I get a whole nother day. And then how you move from that first waking state into the first few moments, minutes, or maybe in the first hour of your day. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to make that feel sacred? And as spiritual beings, we need sacredness in our life. And so what are those patterns? How are you waking up? So pay attention to your own breath. Feel, I call it the morning measuring stick. I ate a lot of cookies yesterday. I made some really good cookies. And I was really good the first 2 days. I only had 1 or 2 yesterday, kind of like I had 8 cookies throughout the course of the day. But I woke up and I'm like, that was a lot of sugar. How am I doing? So I just kind of did a body scan. And I feel okay. I think that's why I slept in a little bit, kind of a sugar hangover. And so today, starting out with my green drink and my water, my coffee, I'm not going to do that again today. But that's it. So I made an agreement with myself. I checked in and I'm like, okay, yesterday, that's what I did. And I was in the mood for cookies. So I gave them to myself. And today I woke up and my booty mind, my wisdom mind said, okay, that was fine, but let's not do that again. So I made an agreement with myself to just really basically cleanse today. So that's the balance, right? So some days we just want some comfort food, and the next day I can go back to my nutritional food. And that's that checking in. And then when you come out of bed, what are you doing for yourself? What are you putting into your body? Like drinking, you all know that I'm a component of water. So drinking some lemon water first thing, or sitting and meditating, opening up the blinds to see the sunshine. What is it that you do? I want you to just really think about that. And of course, get my 7 simple, soulful ways to nurture yourself. That'll give you some ideas. And we'll keep going in weeks to come on what you can do. But today, because of time, I want you to think about what you do in the morning and make that very personal and sacred. How you address yourself in the morning. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's a walk outside in the mountains. Maybe it's journaling. Some breath work. What do you do? The important thing is connecting with your inner self, your true nature, and getting to know you over and over and over again each and every day. And you can do that in 5 minutes, or maybe you take an hour and a half. Just depends on your lifestyle. But start with 5. Just do it first thing. And then you've started that day in a way that's more settled. Like, here I am, and who do I want to be today? Ask yourself that. How do I want to operate? And then your day will move through. And maybe you can even set yourself an intention for the day. That's deciding who and how you want to be. A way of, maybe even set a mantra. Okay. I am peaceful. I am effective. I am productive. Whatever energy, right? I am resting today. Think of all the energies we talked about, right? Tamasic, Rajasic, Sattvic. I move through my day in harmony. So consider what kind of energy will serve you and those around you today. Okay. And then at the end of the day happens, and we never know, right? We have ideas about how we want the day to go, but we don't know. The day is always a mystery. I think today, actually, we get an announcement in Montana whether or not we get to go back to a little bit of socialization. So I'm waiting with bated breath to find out what's happening there. And then the end of the day, the same thing. So how do you end your day? And again, make it sacred. And so gift yourself 15, 20, 30 minutes to action instead of like going or falling asleep on the couch in front of a movie and then dragging yourself to bed, or going and then dragging yourself. Don't drag yourself to bed. Let there be some sort of ritual, like set your room up for sleep. This is how we get good night's sleep. Okay. Shift the lighting. Maybe do a little restorative yoga or some pranayama or maybe some journaling then, or reading something inspirational. So you go to sleep with something inspiring you, a spiritual reading. What is it that you do to end your day? And again, to reflect on what did occur in your day that was a blessing. What do you have to be thankful for? Not what you didn't do. And I was very guilty for that. I would go to bed and think about, oh, I didn't do this and I didn't do that. What did happen? What gifts did arise? Okay, how did we treat ourselves? So that's the lesson today. Is Ayurveda is all about being in balance with nature and your own nature of earth, water, fire, air, and space. So your groundedness, your fluidity, your spark, right? Your creativity, and your lightness of being in relationship and noticing all the ways that these elements shift and change throughout our day and the seasons in our life. And then choosing actions that help to accentuate the elements that need attention and will bring us more to that state of harmony and ease, sattvic way of being. Okay. So I hope that gave you a good bird's eye view of Ayurveda. It's a big subject, as I said. I'd love to hear what you're going to do. It would be so fun for me to see Pitta Vata. Yes. And so it'd be fun to know, what do you want to do, or what are you doing each and every morning and evening to create that ritual of inner reflection and deep connection with yourself. Okay. So for me, I love to journal, so I'm going to go do that right now because I didn't do it this morning because I was preparing for this and looking up all kinds of information. I like to do that and then go for a little walk out in the beautiful sunshine. So what do you do each and every day, or what do you want to now commit yourself to? Start your day right and end with a sense of sacred gratitude. Thanks for dropping in. If you're watching the recording, make sure you also let me know what you're feeling. And if you haven't signed up to receive my little booklet, do that. 7 simple ways to nourish yourself every day. Pretty excited about it. And all right, Stephanie, I see that you want to share that. Oh, the book again is it's kind of intense. Mukunda Styles. This is Ayurveda yoga therapy. So he really combines it with the yoga practice. And the other book I'm going to recommend is Ayurveda, The Science of Self-Healing by Vasant Lad, another great teacher. So Vasant Lad, this one's more all about Ayurveda. There's a lot of books out there. And these are a couple that I have. Great stuff. Great way to look at it. And also consider joining me, which I will have information out. I'm a little behind on all that I want to offer, but I'm having a great time offering what I am. So I have a 6-week course coming up, and Stephanie and Marie, you're going to be in it because you're in the teacher training. And so my larger training, I'm really seeing that this is actually going to become a prerequisite, because it's all about Ayurveda rhythms, getting to know ourselves, and habit evolution. So we can know we can have all this information about yoga and Ayurveda and fitness and health and nutrition. And we know all these things, but how are we integrating? How are we applying them on a consistent basis so they actually have an effect? So we have an effect on our own health and well-being. And that would be the tricky part about being human, because a lot of times we have the knowledge, but we don't have the action behind it. So the simple soulful living is all about how do we create small doable steps that make big differences in our life. And that's what empowered aging is all about. So I hope to have you be there. I will have more information on there. Oh, good, Marie, you meditate, yoga, walk. You've got a good rhythm going out there. in that beautiful farmland that you're in. Would you call it farmland? I hope that's okay. Ranch land. All right, ladies. Thanks for being here and have a beautiful day. Enjoy the sunshine. Take some nice deep breaths. Let all that information sink in. And I'll be back tomorrow. I have Hatha yoga practice from 9 to 10:15. Live virtual guided practice. This week we're doing Vini yoga, which is a lot of movement, moving our energy body. And on Friday, we've got Philosophical Friday from 9 to 9:30. So we'll drop into the philosophy of the emotions called Rasa Yoga, because I think everybody's emotions are a little peaked. So we'll take a look at how to have a practice around our emotions called Rasa Sadhana. See you then. Thanks for being here. Bye.